Welcome to the Wealthy Wealthy Live Speaker Series. I'm Krisstina Wise, and in this limited series, I'm giving you a sneak peek behind the curtain. I've invited a handful of powerhouse speakers who will be joining me live in Park City, Utah this September to talk money, longevity, real estate, and true wealth. In each conversation, you'll get a taste of their brilliance and a teaser of what they'll go deep into at the event. If you want to go beyond the podcast and actually be in the room with these extraordinary minds, you'll need to join us live. But first, let's dive in. Ron, welcome back to the Wealthy Wealthy podcast. As always, I love our conversations. Thanks for being here.
Krisstina, it's an honor to be here. And it's a bright spot in the day to have a conversation with you.
Same. So we've been on each other's podcast multiple times because, we just love talking and love sharing our conversations with others who wish to listen. This one's a little bit different in the sense that we're going to be talking about, which you're going to be talking about at the upcoming Wealthy Wealthy Live event. And the event theme is longevity. And I chose that theme because I think it's really relevant on many different levels, especially in this time where things are rapidly changing with AI, with an uncertain economy, with aging, with technology. And I found that even with so much information that's at our fingertips and accessible 24/7, it's almost as though people are more confused than ever. And so that's this idea of longevity is like let's create this theme and have certain conversations. And you and I have, studied together in the past, and it was really about like aging well and living long and living a good life and being very conscious and thoughtful about this. And so we're going to be sharing some of that. When you and I were talking about like what might be a good talk, and just for everybody listening, Ron is absolutely one of my favorite people in the world and a man I really admire and is yeah, somebody I go to when I think of needing coaching or wanting to listen to his advice on maybe how to think about something. So that's how I feel about Ron. But when we're talking about something that you could come and really share that would be really probably relevant and valuable was this idea of family, but out of just kind of the normal context of what we think about family. And you come from a certain perspective, and I do too, that kind of is Gen Xers in a way, that we're squished between our parents aging and our young adult children. And there's a lot going on. And so I just think it's such a really needed conversation that you'll be talking about at the event. But just to, for everybody's listening before we get there, what situation are you in that's really made this, this relevant for you?
Thanks, Krisstina. And I want to share my interpretation of the word longevity. Right, and I think it comes from the book Outlive, where it's how do we match up our lifespan with our health span, right? So those match up and end together, like at the same time, because they're going to end. But to have them both, the health span and lifespan, get to that space, so you have the money to pay for help, you have the body to work and to do things, and to be in that space, so now you can actually live a good life with the capacities you have until you can't anymore. So that's how I hold longevity. It's a combination of those two things. And the situation that we're in is we have Connie and I. We're very, very fortunate that we have all four of our parents are still alive, all in the 80s, right? And it's hard for me to work and help them in a way without looking at it like a trial run, right? Because it's like wherever they are, they're about 25 years in front of me. Because they were all about 25 when I was born, so they're 25 years in front of me, and they grew up in a different world. Like they are, I think, part of the silent generation. Like they were just before the war or during the war, World War II. So then they're not boomers, which I'm at the very end of boomers, like the last week or two of the boomer deal. And so I'm not a boomer, but they're different. So we've got four aging parents. Every one of them has their own situation, right? And the conversations are around like health span and lifespan and autonomy and wanting to have your own autonomy to be able to choose your own life. to be able to choose it how you want to choose it, right, in that space. And so we're in the middle of that space where and we're looking at it from two perspectives, right? It's like, how do we be of help to them to make choices? Because they're making their choices until they say, I can't make choices anymore. Or they can't make choices anymore. And we have to say, you can't make choices anymore. And I've been around and a part of family and situations where people lost the ability to make a choice. Right. So, and like, that's a real situation. It's easy to say, well, that's a threat, but it's just a situation, which has threats, obligations, and opportunities. Always has all three, not just the threats, but it's easier to see the threats at that point. And at the same time, right, Connie and I are in the space of watching our kids grow, right? So they're into their 20s, early 30s, um, their career challenges and what do they want to do with their life and where do they want to live and how they want to live. And they have a whole different story. I mean, they are millennials, um, but they see things differently than we do. They have different interpretations. They have different stands. The things that we would have thought would have been just expected in the world, they don't exist for them anymore, right? How much you spend on your income to buy a house, dramatically different than it was when we were young, and even more so dramatic than my parents were young. Right, when they bought a house the first time, they paid like a decent house, like $12,000 for a house, and you're going like, you can't buy dirt to build a house on for that amount of money. So there's all these conversations that are happening in our world. That's just us. That's just Connie and I's situation. And we've noticed that everybody's in a little bit different situation, but they all have the same kind of concerns. There's the generation in front of us, right? There's our own situation, right? And then there's the generation behind us. And they're not the stories are not the same. Interpretations are not the same. What is a good life is not the same. The mechanics somewhat are the same sometimes, sometimes not. And so it's a conversation that I think everybody is in. They're just not talking about it. They're living from this, like, well, we don't talk about that stuff, or, well, it'll work out, or I don't have time to worry about that right now, or I don't want to worry about that right now, versus how do we help those generations, younger, older, and ours, live a good life?
Yeah, you said something, when you and I were talking about this offline, and it's three parts. And the first part is dealing with aging parents. And my dad is passed, but my mom is still here, and she's turning 80 in September. And she's been really healthy so far, but she lives alone on a farm in Missouri. Like, how long can that stay? Uh, Stay true, where she can be autonomous and be able to take care of the farm and drive and do the things alone in the middle of 40 acres in middle of Missouri. So it's on my mind, but to your point, like, who do I talk about that with? Or how do I prepare for it? Or should I be talking to her about it without offending her? Does she want to talk about it? So I mean, it's like in the back of my mind, but I've not brought it forward because it's almost too confronting to have to think about, but I know I need to think about it. So again, like, I love the fact that you're going to be opening up this conversation and dialogue so we can think about that in our own personal situations. Also, from a professional standpoint, because the nature of the business that I do, I hear a lot of people's personal financial situations. And I can't tell you the number of stories that I hear on a very regular basis where the situation is the parents aging has lost their faculties and can't afford to take care of themselves. And so there's so much time, energy, and money that's put on the child that's our age to take care of the parents. And so they're missing their own life and they're going into debt or they're going through their own financial resources to take care of parents. And many times they were shitty parents that, they feel obligated to take care, but it's not like, they necessarily want to. So, I know you're going to really talk about this at the event, but anything to say to that specific situation?
Yeah, it's what I notice is that we can get stuck in we humans, and I don't mean like you and me, but like humans, right? We can get stuck in a story of something. And what I notice is there's a story people have about autonomy. And autonomy can be that I have my own house, that I pay my own bills, that I cook my own food, and that I can still live by myself. And the story of autonomy, and that's kind of an American dream, like to be able to take care of yourself and to take care of all that, like that's part of being a responsible human, right? Take care of yourself. And when you like live alone in a big house, and as we age, our world gets smaller. I'm watching it get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? They can't get out, they can't drive, they can't move around. Their bodies don't let them move around. They can't travel. They can't. There's all these stories that they have, these things they can't do, but their story of autonomy is tied to house, paying their bills, cooking their own food, right? And autonomy is the ability to choose whether you need to do those, not do those, right? And as the world gets smaller, I hear stories like we don't have any friends anymore. Like I vividly remember my grandfather saying, he only lived to be 78 years of age, but he said, Ron, all my friends died. They're all gone. So that was around 75. So 75 years of age, he had no friends. So how do we build a space? Because what's really important to us as humans, right, is talking to other people, building relationships, having friends, playing, right? Being able to play a game, like was an old people game. Sorry, old people, canasta or some of the things spades or whatever those game cards are. Being able to play with each other is important to a high quality life. But I do see this multiple times. I've noticed it. Like it's about, well, I want to die in my own home. I go, that means you're all alone. Nobody else around you. You're going to be by yourself. And if you bring somebody in, we've heard this story from several people. You bring in people to help you live a good life, you're not going to pay them enough. What happens? They're going to steal. And then you're going to freak out because now you're going to be in your own home afraid of everybody that comes through the door because they're going to steal something. This is like, they call it a paradox, or this is the space we're going into. How do we create those stories? And the first thing that happened for Connie and I in this space was we need to go find out where we're going to live. Like, maybe this is not the place, but we went to a place right here in town, I don't know, like 5-6 miles away. And we walked in there, we got a tour of the place, and they're kind of looking at us like, you're too young. Like, you shouldn't be here. No. I go, we're here just to look the place over. Oh, you're going to put your parents in here? I go, no, I'm looking for me. I want to know what this place looks like. And my reality was, I wanted to move in right now. I mean, the place was gorgeous. The food was amazing. The people, the culture, everybody around that, like you had people around you to talk to. They had book clubs. They had card games. They had a swimming pool. All the things that I'm going like, you don't have to walk. You don't have to get on your car to go anywhere to work out. You just work out, right? And I was going like, but there's a story that moving to some place like that gives up your autonomy.
Yeah, good point. Will you be sharing some ideas again, just going to like our parents and being squeezed a little bit in the middle about like leading a conversation of what to do and how to start or
Well,
build these
yeah.
conversations?
First, I want to be real clear, Krisstina. I'm not an expert. This is not my domain of expertise. I am in it. I'm a practitioner. I'm trying to figure out how to help. I've been helping my parents for the last, I don't know, 6-7 years in regular conversations with them to help them figure out how to do that. And this is what I'm open to a conversation and continue. Like, what are the ideas? Because I'm going to be there not to just teach other people, but to learn. I'm looking for a better story, a better way, a better space to work with aging parents. But also, how do I look at the next generation that's behind me? Because they're dealing in a whole different world. I mean, you look at, we grew up in the Reagan Clinton times, right? And the Reagan Bush Clinton time frame, that's like our world. They're now in the middle of a Trump Biden world, right? And the world's at war. We were Cold War, but we were not at war. We're at war. And there's all these things happening in the world that they're dealing with that we didn't have to deal with.
Yeah, and just I think we have kids about the same age, and yeah, just what they're concerned about and how they're navigating these things and how they actually think and approach things differently, and what's important is actually really different, and different struggles, and they have this whole social media thing and real a lot of comparison, and so it's an interesting time with young adult children as far as how to be good parents, to not enable them, but where they feel loved and supported and understood, even though it's hard to understand. Because I just want to say, pick up yourself by the bootstraps. I did, and go get your shit together and make stuff happen. But yeah, and but without realizing it's really different for them.
It is really different from them. And it's different for them than it was for us because when I was that age, my parents didn't have any money to give me. Like there was nothing like there wasn't like you didn't went mom and dad, hey, can I borrow some money? Like can I get some money, a little inheritance money maybe? And they would look at you like, dude, there's no money. Like get out of here, right? You bother me, right? And but now we're more successful. We have capital, right? How do we turn that over to them? I mean, there's one way to say, well, when they're 70 and I'm 95 and I die, they'll get it. And I'm going like, that's a long time from now. That is a long time from now. And how do you go about helping them? Like we probably all have a story that if we give them too much money, it's going to ruin them, right? Like they have to learn how to deal with that. Like we made the money, so therefore we have the skills to get there. It's a different world for them. How do you know that they'll be able to grow from it and learn from it and be responsible for it and turn it into an asset that can make more money for them?
Yeah, it's like how to be an offer of help without giving too much or helping too much or parenting too much and
Yeah,
just too
and
much.
then how will that work out when they're, let's say we die when we're 95 and our kids are 70, right? That's 25, yeah, so, 65, something like that, and then they get a chunk of money. But they, they may, and I think my kids all have this story. Kids are too expensive. Like I just can't afford those. Forget that. I can't afford it. And so you go, okay, so now you got to get a chunk of money where they got no kids.
Yeah. Well, really necessary conversations. And I'm just really appreciate the fact that, like you said, this isn't your domain of expertise, but being able to lead conversations so we can start thinking through these things. They're coming or they're here. And, ideas for how to navigate them or what others are doing or what not to do if we're kind of beyond,
Mhm.
making some mistakes in certain categories.
What I'm noticing because I'm having more and more of these conversations with folks on a regular basis, like to where because I'm learning. I am really trying to learn. And like every time I have a conversation, I learn something new. Like somebody shared with me that there's a facility, a business, right, that buys houses and puts a caregiver in the house and then puts four, or depending on what bedrooms are, 4 to 5 senior living people in the house. So now they feel like they're at their own house, but the caregiver is there. They have 24-hour coverage. And then they get to eat at a normal table. So it's like 3 people. It kind of feels like you're living at home. And I'm going like, I had no idea that offer's there. Right. So now it's like, okay, well, is this a space? And then as we have more conversations, we're going to learn more from each person that comes in to share about what they notice, what they're doing, and to have the common conversation where we can share with each other what we're up against right? We can notice our moods, we can notice all that stuff too, but we can also find new ideas, new inspirations for what we can do to help, because we can't do it for them.
Mhm.
Although I do hold that there's going to come a moment when we have to do it for them.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think the final piece, the missing puzzle piece, is ourselves. And looking through it through this, we've talked about looking at the lens as the kid to our parents and how to navigate those conversations, and look at through the lens of parents to our kids and how to be, an offer of help and supportive without causing more problems. But then there's us, that from, I think, a unique perspective again, being in the middle is, what do we need to do to start thinking today that when we reach our parents' age, that pre-think before getting there while we have our capacities and faculties, like you said, go visit the centers now to see what options are and start thinking through that, like that future that's 25 years in our future, in a way that, hopefully ensures that we're not a burden to our kids, and that we don't put them in a situation to have to part with money or energy or a lot of cost to take care of the fact that we didn't pre-think this. And again, I think it's our generation that has this very unique perspective because our parents are living much longer than their parents. And so they didn't have
Yes.
to have these concerns. And like you said, our parents didn't have money, so we couldn't ask for a loan to, when we're
Right.
30 to start up our new business venture or whatever idea that we had.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, so yeah, just a really necessary and relevant conversation. Any final thoughts or words just that you'll want to share at the event?
Well, one of the things we're going to have to deal with is the fear that everybody has, right? And the more we talk about it, the more power we get from, not from the fear, but from our ability to not let the fear control us. And aging and getting old or growing into adulthood, those are scary, fearful subjects, right? And even though we're not in at the end towards our life, it's going to be here sooner than we believe it will. And how to work, make that all match up to where we have our health span match our lifespan, match up with our plenty of capital to be able to live the life we choose, which what we choose is really important.
Yeah, right on. Ron, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And that was just the beginning. Want to go deeper? Want to meet the speakers and ask your own questions live and in real time? Then join us in Park City, Utah on September 26th, 27th, and 28th for Wealthy Wealthy Live. You'll meet today's guest in person, along with a dozen other thought leaders in wealth, health, and business. And yes, yours truly will be speaking too. I'll be sharing the real estate investing strategy that built my wealth and financial freedom, and showing you how to apply it to your own life. Seats are limited. This event will sell out. So if you're serious about becoming financially independent, click the link in the show notes to learn more and reserve your seat. I can't wait to meet you there.